Alright people, JC here. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can create a swipe gallery using Animate CC. So let's start. Open up Animate, create a new HTML5 canvas document. Okay, let's set the width to 300 and the height to 648. The frame rate is 60. I'm going to uncheck advanced layers. Alright, I'm going to reset my workspace here. I'm going to the publish settings, make my content be centered. I'll make it responsive by the width and scale to the view. I'm not going to export as a texture, my document as a texture, because I want to preserve shapes, the vector shapes. And for the bitmaps, I will allow you to use JPEG or PNG, what's best, 32 bits to have all the colors and alpha channel. To avoid problems with mobile device, I'm going to use 2048 for dimensions. Of the text of the sprite sheets, and set the JPEG quality to 800. Alright, I didn't save my document yet. I'm going to save, add this folder here. I'm going to call this index. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is to import the iPhone X shape template. Okay, here you won't be able to see. I'm going to set my background to a very dark gray, almost black, so you can see better what's going on. I'm going to press Ctrl+Shift+J a few times so I can have all my elements separated here. I'm going to create another layer here called status bar and place this one here. I'm going to, I think I can keep this all here. Okay, iPhone X. Okay, it's the generic name. Another thing we need here is to create a button, because my app is kind of a food delivery or food order app. So I will have my gallery here and the big button, so the user can tap or click and order the food. Okay, and to do this, I'm going to create another layer called order button. I'm going to select the rectangle primitive tool. Okay, I'm going to drag this to the right so we can see everything here. I'm going to reset my colors. I'm going to the color panel and I'm going to choose a reddish tone. Okay, reddish color, red color like this. Right? So I'm going to draw my button about here. The reason I'm using the primitive rectangle primitive tool is because I can adjust the corners. I can make it round. I'm going to set the stroke to none. I'm going to check align to stage, align to the center. Okay, maybe I can drag this a bit. I'm going to press T, or you can choose here the text tool. I'm going to click and write type order. And the color of this text will be white. It can be, I don't know, maybe 18. I'm using the Roboto family. I'm going to choose maybe, I don't know, I think regular is good. I'm going to set letter space at 2. Okay, but you can choose the values you like. I'm going to align this inside of this rectangle. I'm going to lock these two layers. I'm going to select these two objects, press F8 and turn it into a button. It's going to be called other button. I'm going to register it at the center, hit OK, double click to enter its timeline, press Ctrl Shift D or Command Shift D if you're on a Mac to distribute the selected objects to different layers. Double click, I'm going to call this text, and this one rec. This is just some housekeeping, okay? And I'm going to alt drag this keyframe to the hit frame. So when the user taps or clicks this button, the text won't be on the way, okay? I'm going to drag this to the down state. I'm going to drag this again to the down state. All right? I'm not turning this into another move clip or graphic because I want to avoid creating many containers objects, okay, for performance sake. But if you wish, you can do this. Here, when the user taps, I'm going to reduce the size of this text by 2 points, and I'm going to change this color a bit, a lighter tone, okay, something like this. I'm going to make sure this is aligned to the center by going to the align panel, pressing these two buttons, okay. All right, so now I have this all here. I'm going to select everything, click here to make sure everything's alive, not this one, because it should be like this, okay. Now I think I can test this for the first time so we can see how it looks. Okay, I can click, everything looks very good. All right, so let's go back to the FLA. Now to complete my layout here, I just want to add this circle on the top. So when I add the gallery, there won't be this big, huge white gap in here, okay? I'm going to choose another color, color that looks like that. I don't know, maybe we'll get something here, it's a bit more reddish, something along this line, okay? We'll select, align to the center. All right, but you can see this is on top of this shape, so I'm going to copy this group here. I'm going to create another layer here called mask. I'm going to paste this, press Ctrl or Command B a few times to get a raw shape. I'm going to right click and set to mask, okay? So this shape will be masked. All right, another thing we can do here is to add a title so the user knows which screen is this one. It's a very simple method. All I have to type is choose a cert. I hope I can type this correctly. I'll set this to not too white, but a lighter tone, okay? But make sure this is aligned to the center, the text itself, and the position. All right, maybe I can put this, okay, all right, it looks good for me. Make sure you can see everything. Let's try again, let's preview. Okay, it's looking good. You can, I don't know if you noted, I'm using static text because it's only a tutorial. I have only only a few text fields, okay? Because static text in canvas mode, they're exported as regular vectors, regular shapes, not really text, okay? So if you're using a huge amount of text, it's better for you to use dynamic text because it will be exported as real text. Okay. Now we can create our gallery. I'm going to move my status bar to the top first. The title can be here. I'm going to create a layer above this one. I'm going to call this, gallery. I'm going to import this image I have here. Okay, I can drag and drop into Animate. Wait it to import everything. You can see they are really huge. I did this because I want to make sure that if the content is scaled up, this image won't look so bad, so ugly. Okay, I'm going to select everything. I'm going to set the width to 288. Okay. Now I'll need to do something here. I'm going to choose the one on the top, drag to the right, select all of them and space equally, so have them distributed. Okay. I need to do this because I'm going to create a hit rectangle for the user when he touches to drag the container. Okay, it can be inside. I'm going to break this apart, doesn't matter. I'm going to use the align panel to set it to the same width and height of the stage. Okay, I'm going to turn this into a move clip called hit. The registration point can be set to the top left corner. I'm going to select the free transform tool again, double click the white dot, the transformation point. I'm going to press Ctrl Shift arrow, down arrow key, or Command Shift down arrow key if you're on a Mac, and send it to the back. Okay. I'm going to activate the outline mode here so it's easy for me to see. I'm going to drag a few instances of this rectangle here. Don't worry about aligning too much now because I'm going to fix this. Okay. Alright. So the first thing we have to do here, select all of them, select the align to the middle on the y-axis. And now I need to align each pair of objects here. I'll make sure the photo is inside of the hit rectangle like this. I'm going to select both of them and start aligning horizontally. Okay, like this, let me see, and like this. Okay, it's important when creating interface, you keep everything nicely organized, nicely positioned. Okay, so now I can go back to my full view mode. I'm going to select all of these ones and send to back. And I'm going to convert each pair of objects to a move clip called page, with the registration point set to the top left corner, right? I'm going to set the registration point here. It's important to do this kind of housekeeping, okay? Because here I have a really small project, but if you're working on a huge project, if you don't do this kind of organization, things can get really messy. Page 1012. 3, and finally 4. Okay. I'm going to drag, make sure that snapping is turned on, so I can get each page aligned to the left, to the right of the previous one. Okay, like this, like this. Now I can go into one of these and set the alpha of the shape to 0 using the color panel. So it will be there for the user to touch, but it won't be seen. Okay, I'm going to select all of them, press F8, create a container called page, use the free transform tool again to reset the transformation point. I'm going to the align panel again. You can see this align panel is very important. I'm going to align to the top left corner, right? All right. I think it's really good. I'm going to give it a instance name, pages, so I can reference it using JavaScript, right? I'm going to export again, see how everything looks in the browser. Just wait a minute while it exports. Let's see, okay. Everything looks looking very good. Only here, I want to improve this contrast in this region. And for this, I'm going to go into this area here. Okay, I'm going to hide all of this. First, what I have to do is to get this color here, okay? Then I can go back inside of this shape. Actually, I'm going to go out and break this shape apart. I'm going to choose the ink border tool, or you can press S. I'm going to click on the border, okay? Another thing I can do, you'll see I left a stroke here on purpose because it will serve me as a guide for this. Take a look. I'm going to choose the lines below that line. I'm going to delete. Okay. I can select here if you can see. Okay. It's here. Delete. And now, if I export this to the browser, let me see. Okay, all right. There's no errors. The contrast is very nice now. Two more things to finish our graphics preparation. I want to select the status bar. Okay, press Ctrl+Shift+G until it turns into a drawing object, and I'm going to set it to white. Okay. Another thing I want to do is to make sure these bitmaps have the best quality possible. So I'm going to set them to use PNG, a lossless compression. Okay. Let's preview this again. Let's wait while it exports. All right, now everything seems pretty good. Let's start coding. Yay! Go to align it here. Let's do this. I'm going to create a layer for the JavaScript. You know, keep things organized. I'm going to choose the actions panel. Click this button so when I click on some object here, I don't lose this context. Okay, so let's declare our first variable called that. I'm going to change the size here so you can see better. It will store a reference to this timeline here, the main timeline. We'll use another variable for the page. Okay, we'll create a function that will be a property of this main timeline called start. Okay, and here to initialize our app, our program, I could only say that.start, okay, and hopefully everything would be fine. But if I do this, when I try to access the children of this container, they will probably not be available because this is the way things work in Animate CC with Create.js. Okay, so to make sure I'll have all my objects ready when I need them, I'm going to use the set timeout JavaScript function. Okay, delete this, type 0 here. I'm going to console log started. Okay, I'm going to save. I'm going to press Control or Command Enter again, and let's see what we get now. You see I'm using the test function. It's important because depending on what you use, if you only run the HTML, things are not going to work because Animate CC creates a server automatically for us. So it's always a good idea to use the control text function shortcut. Okay, it's working. The function is running. All right, let's make some settings here. Create AS dot touch dot enable true. This is necessary if you're using, as we're targeting mobile device, you have to enable touch for mobile device to things to work properly. The other set I want to do here is to allow mouse drag outside the stage. Okay, so when you're dragging things, everything plays nicely. Mouse move outside equals true. Okay, all right. Now I'm going to set the variable page to the actual object, that dot page. That's the instance name we gave to this container here, if you remember. Okay, and now I'm going to add a listener to this object using the on method of the Create.js library. You could use add event listener like this, but I like to use on because it gives me some extra functionalities. I'm not going to touch this for now, but I can explain this in another opportunity. Okay, it will be mouse down type of the mouse down type, and I'm going to create it. Will use a event handler called mouse down handler. Very simple, right? Down below, I'm going to give us some extra space here. Down below, I'm going to say that dot mouse down handler is equal to a function that will receive this parameter there. And here inside, what we're going to do is to add another event to detect mouse movement. And we do this by adding to the page again. And this event is called press move. Okay, that press move handler, right? Very simple. I'm going to create a function for this, like the other time, that press move handler is equal to a function. If I can type this, I can spell this. Okay, all right. So here, so as for to see if it's working, I'm going to say e.current target. Current target is the object that actually received the event here. Okay, so the page object dot x is equal to the e.stageX event, the mouse position. Okay, I hope everything is correct. Okay, let's try. Let's test this. Taking some time. Right, see, everything go ahead. Okay, you see it's working. The reason you're seeing this offset, it's because the way the press move event handler works, it like, how can I say, it kind of doesn't take into consideration the offset from the mouse position from the click to the object registration point. Okay, but we're going to fix this right now. To fix this, we first have to store the offset information when the user presses or clicks the object, right? And to do this, we say here I can even replace pages for e dot current target. Okay, I'm going to use this again here. Dot offset x is equal to the position of the mouse minus the current x position of the object. Okay, current target.x. And now what we have to do is to subtract this value here when we try to move. Okay, let's try again. Let's export and see the result. Let's wait. I think this is taking a considerable amount of time because I'm recording, so it may be affecting. Okay, you see it's being dragged. Okay, nicely. But let me show you something. Here you can see I'm using responsive settings. So in fact, when I try to drag the content, I don't know if you notice it, but there's a little offset yet. This happens because if we're using responsive settings, when we drag the content, the stage scale is changed. It can be smaller than 1 or bigger than 1. It causes a small offset. Sometimes it's unnoticeable, but in some situations you can see it's very noticeable. So to fix this is very simple. Here, when we use the e.stagex property, we divide this to the scale of the stage. So we say stage scale x. Okay. Here we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to save. I'm going to test it again. I hope you don't mind. I do all these tests all over and over again, but I want to show you piece by piece, step by step, what's going on. Okay. So you can see now when I drag, the object is really following the mouse as you expect, no matter the scale of the stage. Okay, this is very important to take into consideration. The next step is to calculate the distance that the user have been dragging the content. Okay, we need to know this because depend upon the amount of drag, we will know if the page, the current page, must change or not. Right? And to do this, first we're going to add another property to the page object to say how much the user have to drag to detect a page change. Okay, I'm going to put 10 pixels, but you can put the value you want to. All right. So this amount needs first to use another property here that we're going to call preset x. It just stores the current position of this object. Okay, the position from where it starts dragging. Start the drag. Okay, like this. All right. I'm going to take the opportunity to add another one called presses. So we know the user start the drag movement, okay? So go to set it to true. Now we need to, when the user presses or clicks, we need to add another event, this time to the stage, called stage mouse up. So we can detect when the drag is over, okay? The function handler will be that stage mouse up handler, right? We can go to the bottom here, and we can say that dot stage mouse up handler is equal to function, okay? Same way we did before. I'm going to take the opportunity to set the pressed property to true, but as this event was added to the stage, we cannot use e.currentTarget because e.currentTarget will refer to the stage, not to the page object. So here we have to say page.pressed is equal to false, right? False, yeah. All right. In here, when the user stops dragging, we can remove the press move and the stage mouse up event because they are no longer needed. Okay. Once again, I'm going to use the pages object directly, and this event listener we just added here, instead of on, we're going to say off, right? As simple as can be. Now, when the user is moving the mouse or the finger, we can finally calculate this distance, okay? I'm going to call drag distance, and I'm going to set its value to the page.x. That's the position it has now, minus the pressed value we stored here, okay? So it will be e.currentTarget.pressedX. I'm going to console log this so we can see what we have, okay? I hope everything is correct. Fingers crossed against. Let's wait for the output. Right? Alright, let's see. So when I drag, you can see here that based upon whenever I click it calculates the distance. Oh, very simple. Nicely done. Alright, so now that we have that information, it will be easier for us to finally do that snapping movement, okay? And to do that, we need another property that I'm going to call index, okay? Index equals to 0. Each page has an index, so the first one is 0, the second one is 2, 3, and so on, all right? And where we calculate this index? We calculate here in the mouse up handler when the user is no longer dragging the content. And to check this, we need a conditional if, right? And we need to do two checks here. The first one, if the page container was being dragged, because when you use when the mouse up, stage mouse up event is fired, it can be from anywhere. The user can click somewhere here outside the container and the event will still fire. That's why we need to know if this event was fired because he stopped dragging the container. Okay, so we can say if page.presses, if this property is true, and if the drag distance is bigger than the drag tolerance we set here. All right, so I can say page.drag distance is bigger than the page.drag tolerance. But this value can be negative or positive. So to make sure this value will be correctly compared to this one, we're going to make sure this value will always be positive. And for this, we can use the default function called math.avs. All right. As soon as we detected that the current page must be changed, we are going to do another check, and this check will tell us if this drag distance is negative or positive, because we need to know if we're going to add or subtract to the current index value. So if this value is bigger than 0, is positive, we're going to say page.index plus plus. If it is not, page.index minus minus, the current value minus 1, right? So to finally calculate the page index, we're going to make sure that this value cannot be smaller than 0 and cannot be bigger than the amount of pages minus 1. So if the index for the first page is 0, the index for the last page here is 4 because we started 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the index must always be one of these values. It cannot go outside of these limits, okay? So I'm going to drag this again. And now, to calculate this, we're going to use the math.min function to compare if the value is 0 or if it will be the current page.index. Because if this value is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and so on, we set it to 0 using the math.min function, okay? Because this function will return this value, I'm sorry, not min, but max, sorry. So if the page.index is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, and so on, we need to make sure it will be at least 0, okay? So this function will return the bigger value. So if this page.index is smaller than 0, so the value will be 0. But if the value is 1, 2, 3, it will continue to be 1, 2, 3, right? So here we set the minimal value. Now we need to set the maximum value. And to do this, we're going to use the math.min function. And the value returned by the math.max is one of the values we want. The other value will be the page.children.length minus 1, okay? So this is it. Now that we have this value that can be 0 or 1, 2, 3, 4, now we need to make sure that this 1, 2, 3, 4 won't be 5, 6, 7, and so on. So if the value is 5 or 6, it will be, the math.min will return the smallest one. So for example, the page.children.length minus 1 in my case is 4 because I have 5 children minus 1, 4. So if the page.index come with a 5, it will return 4, right? I hope this makes sense. Let me know in the comments below if you still have any doubts, okay? So, all right, I'll try to console log this value, okay, and hopefully this will help me, okay? This will help us to see. Let's wait for this to export. Okay, let's see what we have here. So 0, 0, 1, 2, okay, 4, okay. It never goes outside of this bounds. All right. So the last thing I think we have to do now is to actually create that movement that brings the page to the correct position. All right. To do this, we're going to use the twin.js, one of the twin.js functions called get. We need to get the page to somewhere, okay? This two function twins properties, but also needs a duration and an easing. The duration, I'm going to set a variable here to make things more organized. It will be called transition delay. There will be 350. You can change this value if you wish. 350 because Create.js, the twin.js library uses milliseconds. Pages dot transition is, that will be equal to create.js dot is dot kint, I think, out. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Let me see where I was. Okay, here. I'm going to the top again. I'm going to copy this one here. I'm going to paste in here. Here, the property we want to twin is the X property. And the value we want to pass this in the page.index times the canvas width divided by the stage.scale x. And this value returned must be the opposite of what we got, okay? You'll see in a minute. So we multiply the current index by the size of the screen, okay? Hopefully this makes some sense, okay? I'm going to remove this log here. I'm going to try again. Let's see. Okay, there's a lot to prepare here. See if there's some mistake. Looks like I have some error here. Let me see. Okay, this is inverted. This should be minus minus and this should be plus plus. Okay, so if the drag distance is bigger than 0, then we subtract the index. It's the opposite. Okay, now I think this should work. Let's see again. So if I drag, okay, now it's working nicely. Okay, so it never goes outside the bounds. Okay, I can click on my button here and everything works as we're expecting. So this is it, people. I hope you like this tutorial. Like and share if you want to. And I hope I can create a lot more for you in the upcoming weeks. Okay? So, see ya!